Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. My name is John Campea. Welcome to FYC Daily. FYC Daily is, of course, the daily version of the For Your Consideration podcast. We do this every day here at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's 3 p.m. Toronto/New York East Coast time. We're really glad that you're here to join us. Here we talk about movies. Movies, and pretty much nothing but movies. And we're glad that you're here to join us. This is a live and interactive show. Hey, listen, folks, if you're watching this stream right now, anywhere, either on my Facebook page or on some other page where this is embedded, what you can do is you can join a chat board with us live. Here's how you do it. Join us on Facebook right now, and you can do that by going to Facebook and go to facebook.com/FYC podcast. So facebook.com/FYC podcast. And you'll see on the left-hand navigation bar a link that says Ustream. So, or Ustream Live. Click on that Ustream link and it'll bring you to the show page, and you'll see that there's a chat board. Just click on the chat tab there, and you can chat with Matt and I, who I will introduce here in just a second, and you can talk with us and talk with the other members in the chat board as we go through the movies. You can give us your questions, and we're going to spend the second half of this show simply just taking your questions and talking about topics that, well, you want us to talk about. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce, of course, a guy who's pretty much one of the regular co-hosts around here, my good friend, Mr. Matthew Bernard. Matthew, how you doing?
I'm good, buddy.
So did you get a chance to go to any midnight screenings last night?
No. The last one I saw Chronicle on Tuesday night, maybe?
Right.
Yeah.
I meant to go see a movie last night. I meant to go see Safe House last night. This is one of these weird weeks where all the stars kind of aligned in a weird way that I was unable to go to any press screening for any of the movies opening this week. Honestly, I can't remember the last time that happened. So
Yeah.
So I thought about maybe going to a midnight screening last night of seeing Safe House, and it was simply it was not to be. So
Not to be, or you're just like, maybe I'll catch it when I'm not.
well, it's one of those things where you're like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And then it's
Yeah,
like,
I've got those.
yeah, it's like 9
Like
o'clock.
running on the treadmill and stuff like that. You're like, it's gonna happen, but it does never happen.
Yeah, it's like 9 o'clock. And you're
Uh-huh.
like, yeah, I'm going to do this. Then it's 10 o'clock. It's like, yeah, I'm still probably doing that. And it's like 10:30 is, well, I'll see how I feel in a half hour. And then it's,
And then the Seinfeld rerun comes on, and then it's like, forget about it.
yeah. So you're like, no, this is 11:30, and like, you know what? I'm in my new Lazy Boy recliner. I'm all comfy. I've got
Yeah,
my dogs
forget
on my lap.
Yeah, forget it.
I can't go now. Now it can't be done. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
it's kind of like promising your wife you'll do certain pieces of housework. You mean well. You intend to get
Yeah.
around to it.
Those leaky faucets aren't gonna fix themselves, buddy.
So yeah, that simply wasn't going to happen.
Are you gonna go watch something that comes out this weekend? Are you excited for anything?
Um,
I'm just like, okay. The Star Wars thing, if I was a bigger Star Wars fan, maybe, but Safe House is like having more Ryan Reynolds. I'm good.
okay, look.
No, I mean, he just gets a lot of shots. It's like he's into everything. He's okay, but I just, whatever.
I think the thing with Ryan Reynolds. Well, here's the thing. Let's look at this weekend. I didn't want to start with this, but we might as well. Let's look at this weekend
Sorry.
and see what's. No, but it's a good segue. Let's look at this weekend and see what's opening up here. We've got, of course, Star Wars: The Phantom Menace in 3D opening up. We've got The Rock with Journey to the Amazing, Fantastic, Super Mysterious Island, which I believe is the full title of the film.
Yeah.
We've got The Vow with one of my favorite Canadian girls, Rachel McAdams, and a guy who I am slowly starting to warm up to, Channing Tatum. And we've got Safe House with Denzel Washington and Ryan Reynolds. Okay, I've got to go see a screening tonight of the new Amanda Seyfried movie, Gone. Which I don't have high hopes for, and I don't have a lot of expectation for, but I got to go see that tonight. So I can't see another film tonight because the screening's at a weird time. The screening's at 8:30, which means I don't really have time to see an earlier show, and I won't really. By the time it's done, I won't have time to see a late show of anything else either. So I may try to shoot out to see Safe House this afternoon sometime. If I can, and that would be the one. So what about you, man? If you had your choice between,
if anything, that's it, right? I mean,
I think
not
so.
the target demo for The Vow. Star Wars is.
No.
I'd rather just watch it at home.
Well, I
Safe
mean,
house. That's probably
yeah,
the
I
best
think
bet.
I already admitted that I'm in a dangerously bad codependent relationship,
Yeah.
abusive
Yeah.
relationship with Star Wars. That even though I don't like the prequels and I feel really abused by George Lucas, I'll
Mhm.
probably be a little bitch and
Mhm.
crawl off and watch it on the big screen again because it's Star Wars and it's on the big screen. So I'm genetically bound to it some way. So I have to go see it.
Yeah.
But
Well, it's
given
3D. Like I can't. I gotta wear glasses on glasses, so it's a no go for me.
Yeah, I hate 3D so much,
No good for me.
and I don't think for those of you in the chat board, if you know, if they are offering non 3D screenings, there's a bunch. Like I was saying, there's a bunch of guys already in the chat board. If you guys know if there's going to be any non 3D screenings for this film, go ahead and write that up in the chat board. But I'm pretty sure that all of the screenings are going to be in 3D, which
Yeah.
is just awful.
Well, that's all I've seen. Yeah.
And it just oh my goodness, I hate 3D. I hate 3D, all 3D. But
Yeah. Yeah.
anyway, I'll be honest. I'm surprised AMC has not given me a hard time yet. I mean, this is okay for those of you who don't know,
Like
and
shut it up, Campea.
like
Yeah, like that. Yeah.
AMC. For those of you who don't know, and most of you should know by now, like my gig, my regular gig is I'm the senior editor for Movie News, and I produce all the online content for AMC theaters. That's my job, and I love my job, and I love AMC theaters, and I love what I do with those guys. I really do. But considering that one of the things AMC really tries to do is push 3D movies
Hmm.
because they can charge more for tickets,
Yeah.
I am really kind of surprised. Because look, I'm not quiet about the fact that I hate 3D. I'm not quiet
Hmm.
about it. I'm very vocal about it. I would consider myself an anti 3D evangelist.
Yeah.
I hate 3D so much. I think it's such a waste. And I'm really shocked that nobody at AMC has ever given me a hard time about how firmly anti 3D I am. As a matter of fact, I think it says a lot about AMC that here I am. I work for them, and I'm preaching against this thing that they're trying to push. And I think it says a lot
Hmm.
about AMC that they say, "Hey, man, that's your right to do it. We're not going to give you a hard time," and they don't. They've never brought it up with me. They never give me a hard time about it. And that's one of the things I really appreciate about
Yeah.
working with AMC. So, but yes, I
Yeah.
hate it so much. But getting back to Safe House, I haven't
Yeah.
seen it yet, but
I haven't either.
I've got hope for it. Number one, because it's Denzel Washington, obviously, but number two, because
Yeah.
I think we've been getting a lot of Ryan Reynolds. There's no doubt we've been getting a lot of Ryan Reynolds. But
Hmm.
after seeing that movie he was in called Nine, and I think there were like 5 movies called Nine that all came out within like a calendar year of each other.
Uh huh.
But
Uh huh.
especially watching him in that movie Buried. I don't know if you had a chance to see Buried or not. Did you see that?
I didn't. I didn't.
It's the movie where
It's like a panic for me. I wouldn't be able to handle it.
yeah.
Get all antsy and stuff, right?
Oh my goodness, yeah, the
A movie
whole
in a
movie,
box.
and I'm
Hmm.
not kidding you, like the entire movie. If you guys have not seen the Ryan Reynolds film Buried, I recommend it. The entire film, and this sounds weird, the entire film happens in a box.
Yeah, that's tough.
The movie starts with Ryan Reynolds opening his eyes, and he realizes he's been buried alive, and he's in a
Hmm.
cramped little box, buried like 10 feet under the ground. And the entire movie happens down there. There's no cutaway scenes to other people talking about other things. None of that. The entire movie takes place from start to finish inside this box. And if you're going to do a movie like that, you better have one hell of a performance.
Right.
And Ryan Reynolds, it was the performance of his career. I
Yeah.
really, I think it was the best performance of his career. And that's why we're probably getting a lot of Ryan Reynolds stuff right now. Of course, Green Lantern didn't quite turn out to be the success that people wanted, but I still believe in Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, he's
And,
all right. We just get a lot. That's all.
yeah.
He's like, he's
And
always there.
once again, he's a good Canadian kid. I'm loving. It's funny how many of the biggest stars right now are Canadians. Like, we've been talking about Rachel McAdams. Obviously, we just mentioned Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Gosling is a good Canadian kid who grew up
Hmm.
not far from me. I mean, basically, we rule. Canadians rule Hollywood. And I mean, all Saturday Night Live is run by a Canadian, so there you go. Lauren Michaels is
Yeah.
Canadian.
Well, Lauren Michaels can do no wrong. Three Amigos. He's got a lifetime pass.
Man, it's been
What?
so long since I've seen Three
Oh,
Amigos.
I was ready for you to be like, well, that's not the great. And I'm like driving to your house right now and punch you in the stomach.
Oh, Lorcy is asking the thing. Michael J. Fox is Canadian, right? Yes, Michael J. Fox is Canadian. Darren J. Seeley's pointing out Ryan Reynolds was also good in Proposal. He was. That was a surprisingly good comedy. But
Except for the granny rap part, I'm not down with that.
yeah, I wasn't too
Everything
down
else is
with the
Yeah,
Matt.
it's all right though.
Yeah, I wasn't down with that scene either. But overall, I thought it was a really funny movie, which is actually kind of funny because that movie came out right around the time that my wife and I got married. Being a Canadian, marrying an American, being down here, it was oddly appropriate. But yeah, I'm gonna say the film that I want to see most out of the ones that open this weekend is Safe House, and I think you're in agreement with that. You guys in the chat board, go ahead and let us know. Would you choose any of the other ones? Like, are you guys? Would you rather see The Island, The Unsuspected, Wonderful Phantom Menace Journey, or would you rather see Phantom Menace, or would you rather see The Vow? Let us know. Like for me and Matt both, it's definitely
Safe House.
Safe House. Safe House is the one we want to see. Let's move on to this, and I'm going to do my best to bring this up here if I can. There we go.
Monk's asking, what about Rampart? Rampart's not opening anywhere near me except for LA.
Yeah, so, Rampart's a limited release, so it's I generally, unless it's a film that really blew my socks off, I generally don't talk about films that people don't have the opportunity to see. So it's kind of pointless.
Yeah.
Of course, as we've mentioned, Star Wars: The Phantom Menace opened up this week, or is opening up this weekend. Hooray, hurrah. I've already said I'm probably going to go see it because I'm a good, obedient little bitch. Mm-hmm. But George Lucas, in the last couple of days, did an interview. And look, let me preface this. I think George Lucas is an absolute, undisputed, undeniable genius. I do. I think he is. I think he's beyond. I think he's one of the most influential, positive influential filmmakers in the history of Hollywood. When you look at everything that George Lucas has done, not just the Star Wars franchise, not just the Indiana Jones franchise, but the way he's pushed, promoted, and propelled the film industry as far as his influence, as far as visual effects with his company Industrial Light and Magic, as far as sound with Skywalker Sound and THX, as far as the way he single-handedly has pushed Hollywood to embrace the new digital era with he was the first major film with the Star Wars prequels to use Sony digital cameras as opposed to film cameras. And now they're so vastly superior, it's crazy. You have now, because of George Lucas, you have theaters now that have much more effective and efficient digital projectors in their theaters that are mind-blowing at 4K, 8K, and pretty soon we're going to have like 16K in theaters. Just mind-boggling. This is all because of George Lucas. So, if you're like 22 years old or younger and all you think about of George Lucas is the prequels and the way he ruined Star Wars, then you need to open your eyes a little bit. The dude is an absolute, undisputed genius and a champion of the film industry. That being said...
Here comes back the shit truck up real fast. Yeah.
That being said, the Star Wars prequels were a miss. That is the kindest way I can put it. The Star Wars prequels were a miss. I cannot emphasize how much, and we've talked about it before, Matt, how much of a massive, massive Star Wars fan I am and have grown up being. I know more. Trust me, I don't care who you are watching this show right now. Unless your last name is Lucas, you don't know as much about Star Wars as I do. I'm just going to tell you that right now. You just don't. And that's a sad thing.
Not a big proud fact. Huh?
Not a big proud fact. I mean, that's pretty much my nerd card right there. But, oh my gosh, Billy George 8 just made the best comment. Campea is Rihanna and Star Wars is Chris Brown. It's so freaking true. That is the best. That's the comment of the day so far. Look. The prequels are a miss. There's no doubt they're an absolute miss. But anyway, George Lucas did this interview, and one of the big problems that a lot of people have had with George, and the things he's done with Star Wars, was, and this is just tipping the iceberg, but it kind of became the symbol of the problems people had with George, with not just the prequels, but the changes he made to the original films. And that was this. Han shot first. One of the big problems people have had with the way George Lucas has tinkered with the Star Wars films is the fact that in that pivotal scene when Luke Skywalker and Obi-Wan first meet Han Solo, he gets confronted by Greedo, and they have that discussion and confrontation. Han shoots him. Han
Like a badass. Yeah.
shot first. He shoots him because Greedo made it clear he was going to kill Han. He was either going to take him to Jabba, and Han says, "Over my dead body," and Greedo's basically say, "Oh, good," and Greedo's about to kill him, so Han shoots him first. That's the way it happened. He changed it. George changed it, so Greedo shot first in an attempt to, because I guess he didn't want Han to be a cold-blooded killer. Han was a scoundrel.
Right.
He was a smuggler. And
Well, that's not going to do it either, though, right? Just even if you shot first, it's not that changes the opinion of the rest of the time. That's so small.
I mean, but it changes so much because he was a gunslinger. He was cold-blooded. He was a good man, but he was cold-blooded at the same time. That is so essential to who he is.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And George just didn't want him to seem like a bad guy. Oh, he wouldn't have shot first. And it's like, yeah, he shot first. So he changes that in the movie. It causes a big bunch of uproar, and it's been an uproar for years. I'm going to bring this image up again, but it started this entire series of T-shirts, and even in TV series, like the nerdy characters would say something about Han shot first. It became a rallying point, a symbol, if you will, of the objections that people had to all the changes that George Lucas was making to Star Wars. Now, in a recent interview, like in the last day or two, George Lucas did this interview where he basically said this. First of all, he defended making all the changes to Star Wars, and he's been defending it for a while now, making the point that, look, they're his movies. I get that they are his movies, and he has the right to change them. Absolutely. I'm not disputing that. But he went on to say that, well, Greedo always shot first. I mean, he says in the interview, and I'm paraphrasing a bit, he goes, I know the camera was kind of close up, and you couldn't really see it right, but Han always shot second. Okay, so George, you've raped my images and my experiences of Star Wars by changing everything in it.
Right.
Now you're calling me in. Now you're acting like I'm a moron. Now you're acting like we're all stupid. Because I went back and watched that damn scene 1,000 more times. And I'm going to bring up the, I'll bring up the image again.
Yeah.
Han shot first.
Yeah, I think that's the big problem, right? Is that George Lucas isn't like, I think this would be better. He's more like unapologetically like, you guys didn't watch the first one, right? Or whatever. Isn't that kind of his attitude?
His thing is like, oh, no, you guys just didn't see it right. And maybe that was my fault because I didn't have the camera right or was too much of a close-up. No! Han shot first. Don't deny it. Just
they added that wide shot in there.
Just embrace it, George. Just admit it. Look, you wanted to fool around with it. You wanted to screw around with it, and you wanted to make it so Grease software because you didn't want Han to seem like he would be the one to kill somebody without being provoked. But he was already provoked. Greedo said he was going to kill him.
Yeah.
And it just, oh, man. And then he goes on to say, when he's defending the fact that he made all these changes, he goes, well, this is nothing new. Filmmakers make changes to their films all the time. And he said, quite often, it's the studios that will make changes to a movie without even telling the director. And he says, and basically says, but I'm George Lucas, bitch, so Fox can't do that to me. So, this happens all the time. George, sometimes that'll happen between the release of the film and when it first comes out on DVD. Not 20 years later, George. Not 20 years later. That doesn't happen. I mean, the only other maybe possible thing is when maybe a studio, decades after the director has died or whatever, has taken a black and white film and maybe colorized it. But I mean, they never had, here's looking at you, kid, taken out of the movie and said, here's looking at you, bitch. They didn't do that. They didn't do things that fundamentally change the nature of the characters, the natures of the movie. That hasn't happened, George. You're the only one who's done it, and I'm afraid you might have started a precedent where maybe Peter Jackson 5 years from now will do it where, when Gandalf meets the Balrog, he'll break into a hip hop number because he wants to make it cooler for the kiddies. And hey, George Lucas did it, so maybe I can do it. I mean, it bothers me. It bothers me so much. And I love George Lucas. I worship, don't get me wrong, I worship at the altar of George Lucas. I do. I am the Rihanna to his Chris Brown. Yes. but look, just own it. It was a mistake. It is what it is. It can't be changed now. Whatever. You did it. It was a mistake. Don't compound the problem now by coming out and trying to justify it or denying it or telling us that Han never shot first in the first place. Just don't do that, George. Just embrace. Say, look, I did it. Look, I'd rather George Lucas come up and say, just get on a webcam in some chat somewhere and just look into the camera and say, look, I'm George Lucas. Star Wars is mine. I created it. I wrote it. I brought it into being. It's mine. I did with it as I thought was best. And if you like it, awesome. If you don't, that's fine. But it ain't yours, it's mine. I would rather hear George Lucas, honestly, I would rather hear George Lucas say that from the heart, because it's true, and move on with it and be done with it, than coming out and saying, oh, Han never shot first in the first place, and, oh, studios do this all the time, making changes to movies long after. Just stop right there, George. That's not true. But I don't know. I've been yapping on here, man. What's your impression of all this?
I have to cede the floor on all Star Wars related topics to you before. My credentials are not in line, but it just seems. I think like what I would see from the outside in looking in the Star Wars universe is like, yeah, he's so unapologetic about like how everybody else. Like, there's just, listen, kids, I know better than you guys know. You guys didn't like the other one. Just trust me on this one. Instead of just going like, I think it would be better this way or changing it a different way. It's mostly his attitude, I think, that burns people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like I said, I think I would much rather, you bring up a great word, attitude, I would much rather just see him have an explicit attitude about it.
Yeah.
And say, fuck you all. It's mine. I do with it what I want. I can live with that. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people could live with that. And say, okay, it's you do it. Like, we don't like it. We just wanted you to know that we didn't like it. But you're right. It's yours. Whatever.
Yeah.
And then it could be done. But
then, you know what else too? It's like taking away the original stuff and not releasing that at all. That's a bummer. I mean, I don't even own them, but like, geez Louise, if you don't like the new one, then just go buy the old one. But you can't even buy the old one.
No, I mean, if they put out a Blu-ray, honestly, seriously, and maybe this is horrible of me to say, but if they put out a Blu-ray today of the original Star Wars films.
It's bought, right?
It's bought. It's bought 10 times over so I can give it out as gifts to friends. It's bought 100 times over so I can give it to uneducated film fans who just think what the Star Wars that they have now is what Star Wars always was. No. Here, take this. Watch this and embrace it with all of your heart. But that hasn't happened. Anyway, we should probably get off this topic. We've been talking about the changes to Star Wars and whatever. But I will say I'm very curious. Mm-hmm. I am very curious, as I'm checking my text messages, about how much money Star Wars is going to make. I've actually got to respond to this text message. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I'm pretty sure like I said.
Sorry, studio related issue here. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
It's sacrilege to older fans, but like my little nephew who was gonna go see. If I went to take him to go see the new Star Wars, that'd be his thing. He'd be all for it. So it's like a little bit of a bummer where people have this super dedicated fan base, and then they just basically dumb it down and make the new ones for kids and 3D and everything else.
I am very curious to see how much money Phantom Menace makes this weekend. I'm very, very curious to see what kind of response it's going to have. Because in the online world, which is a small world, we got to remember, like the movie fan circles online is actually smaller than you might think.
Yeah.
And, if you just went by all the talk on the movie blogs and from idiots like me, you'd think, well, everybody hates the new Star Wars films. Yeah. Everybody hates it. No one's going to go see this. And guess what, folks? That just ain't true. Not everybody hates the new Star Wars.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law he doesn't like the original trilogy, but he loves the new films, which is part of the reason that I don't talk to him very much, quite frankly. But
Estranged brother-in-law.
the estranged brother-in-law. I mean, but there are a lot of people out there, and I'll be honest, man, I'm damn curious. Because I talked to one guy, one film pundit from an online site about 2 weeks ago, and he said that he thought Phantom Menace in 3D was going to come in third at the box office this weekend, behind Safe House and behind Journey. Journey 2. And I said, man, I don't know. I don't know.
Think it will?
I think I think it may come in first.
Yeah, it might, right?
I think Phantom Menace in 3D may come in first.
Movie?
What's that?
Yeah, the Disney movie that just got released in 3D and dominated the box office for like 3 weeks. I mean, those are like the stuff with a built-in fan base it's can't miss, right?
Yeah, and I mean, Journey being a family film with The Rock, that's got a lot of appeal. Denzel Washington, Ryan Reynolds, that's got appeal. But I'm telling you, man, I think there is a chance that that Phantom Menace in 3D could end up being number one at the box office this weekend. I haven't seen the box office numbers from the midnight screenings last night,
right?
But I was shocked when I was on Twitter and I was on Facebook last night seeing how many people were already at the theater, to see a midnight screening of a re-release.
Yep.
A re-release of a film that a lot of people don't like. So, man, I mean, I'm curious. I'm not predicting it's going to come in at number one, but I'm really curious. Anyway, let's move on.
Tune in Monday for more John outrage.
Yeah.
yeah.
What is wrong with this society? All right, let's move on to this. Let's talk about this.
Okay.
Twilight. I know you've been waiting for us to talk Twilight.
Well, me personally, yeah.
Especially me.
Yeah.
Twilight, Breaking Dawn, Part 1, the most recent Twilight film that opened up, is opening. It comes out on DVD tonight.
Yeah.
Now, usually what happens, and it's not all the time, but usually DVDs are released on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Tuesdays is generally the DVD release date for DVDs, but they're not Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 1. That is coming out tonight. And places like Target, Walmart, at least in my area where I live, Target, Walmart, and a few other places are opening at midnight just for the DVD release of Breaking Dawn Part 1.
This is just in time, like they're trying to rush it out to get it ready for Valentine's Day, right? For the people who don't have anything to do on Valentine's Day and the people who love the movie. It's like 3D Star Wars.
It's like
timing.
Right? I don't know if they're just rushing. I don't think they're just rushing it. I think
not rushing it out.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's ready. I'm just like this is strategery, right?
I think it is strategic, and I think the Friday release is also strategic. And look, I was thinking about this today because it is kind of nuts when you think about how popular. DJ Cincy is saying, "I would rather spend my money on training hookers than buy that DVD."
To each his own.
A Padrock says, I work at Target and we're not opening, but the other store by us is, and they're playing a clip for part 2. Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, it is crazy how popular this franchise is. And I will, and a little bit of news came out today too, that the first trailer for Breaking Dawn Part 2, which is the last film in the Twilight franchise, apparently, is going to play in front of Hunger Games. That Hunger Games, as if there weren't going to be enough screaming girls rushing out to see Hunger Games when that opens on March 23rd. Now they're saying they're going to be having the first trailer for Breaking Dawn Part 2 play in front of it. So that's pretty big. The other piece of news that came out today, which is one of the most ridiculous pieces of news, and I cannot believe some movie sites are running with it, and I'm only going to bring it up because I'm so shocked that other movie sites and movie news sites are actually running this as news.
Okay.
Lionsgate has come out and said if Stephanie Myers, who I believe is, if that's the name of the, you guys correct me if I'm wrong in the chat board there, but I believe that the woman who wrote the Twilight films, her name is Stephanie Myers, if I'm not mistaken. Just tell me if I'm right or wrong in the chat board.
That sounds right. I
Sounds right.
couldn't confirm or deny.
Yeah,
Yes.
people are saying yes, it is. Okay. Lionsgate, this is the movie news. Their site's running this as a news item. That Lionsgate has said that if Stephanie Myers decides to write more Hunger Game or more Twilight books,
Mhm.
they'll make films out of them. That's the
Of
news.
course they will. Of course.
Whoa!
Yeah.
I never.
This just in, water is wet, the sky is blue, that kind of news.
Yeah, they're not saying Stephanie Myers has decided to write a new book. They're not
Mm-hmm.
saying Lionsgate has decided to make another Twilight film. They're saying, hey, if Stephanie Myers makes a new Twilight book, which she isn't at this point, then we'll make a movie out of it. Really? 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 You'll make another movie that costs $20 million to make and is guaranteed to gross you about $500 million? Really? And that's the big news story, as if that's going to catch nobody, as if people didn't already know this.
Right.
So I thought that was interesting. But here's one of the things I want to bring up.
Okay.
Regarding Twilight and the fact that it is coming out on DVD tonight,
Yes.
I'm not ashamed to say, look,
Uh-oh.
in my movie blogging career, I have never been afraid to say the unpopular thing. I know there are some guys who tell me straight up that are peers of mine in the movie blogging world, that they will sometimes give a movie they didn't like a positive rating because everybody else is giving it a positive rating and they don't want to get a lot of crap.
Yeah.
Or they'll say they don't like something or make fun of something that they actually like, but at the moment it's extremely popular to not like it, and so they don't want to get a lot of crap. I've never been afraid of that because, frankly, I'm always right. I mean, so I don't care. And it's good to have a healthy ego when it comes to this stuff and opinions on things. But I'm going to tell you right now, and I know it is not the popular thing to say as a male in certain circles, I really don't think the Twilight films are all that bad. I think there are people who, using extreme amounts of hyperbole, say, oh, this is like the worst thing ever, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, look, I get it. You're homophobic enough to feel that if you actually don't say that Twilight is the worst thing ever created, that you think your masculinity is threatened. I get it. But as a staunchly Italian heterosexual male with no questions or problem with my personal sexuality,
Staunchly Italian. Okay.
I'm going to tell you right now, I really don't think the Twilight films are all that bad. Do I think they're great? No. But I find them to be terminally watchable. I find them to be watchable films. I think the take they have on the whole vampire mythology is unique because, look, whether you like the changes they made to vampires, the fact that they glitter and all this kind of nonsense, whether the fact that you like that or not, I thought that type of crap was extremely brave because the vampire mythos in film has just been the same forever. Yes, we get
just
it.
Pussified it.
Yeah,
Right.
you can't be in sunlight. I get it. Stake him through the heart. I get it. They turn into bats. Oh, I get it. I mean, whatever. The mythology of the vampire has always been the same forever, forever, forever. And to a big degree, much like zombie films, I get bored of it. I thought it was extremely brave and kind of creative what Stephanie Myers did with the whole vampire mythology, changing things up, saying each vampire has a unique set of powers, saying that, when they step in sunlight, they don't burn into smoke. They actually glitter, which gives them away to regular eyes and stuff like that. I may not love those things, but I admire the fact that they did something different. And in a time and in a world where people just moan and complain about, oh, there's nothing original. Well, along comes Twilight that tries to do something a little bit different with an old mythology, tries to do something a little bit original. When that happens, look, fine, say you don't like it, but at least give it its props and say, hey, at least it's creative. At least they tried to do something. It didn't work for me, but full marks for trying. And I've appreciated that. I think all the wolf stuff in Twilight has been pretty damn cool. Whenever there have been action sequences, which there have been far too few, I think Twilight needs a good boost of more action. Like, break away from the books a little bit and just put in more action sequences. Because when these giant wolves are doing action sequences, I'm digging it. It's just far too few and far too in between. But I'm digging it. I think there's some creative dialogue in the films that's kind of witty. There's some decent banter here and there. They're forgettable films. I won't be talking about the Twilight films 5 years from now unless they're making another one and we have to. But in general, I've found the Twilight films to be watchable and okay.
Right.
But anyway, I've never talked to you about Twilight, Matt.
I've saw a bit of the first one, and then the one, I don't know which one. I think it's the one right before this previous, the one that's on DVD now is on HBO and stuff now. I'm just confused by every time. I haven't sat down and watched the whole thing, and I'm always like, to my wife, like, why is this guy so pissed off at this guy, and how come they don't just do this? And then it's just not for me. I'm sure it's good. It's just not for me. I'm not the target, I don't think.
Yeah, and
but I mean, I don't have to see him for my job either. So you got that step up for me.
Inclining Pizza brings up something that I in the chat board there that I think that I've addressed and I've heard a lot. About one of the complaints about vampire baseball. That was enough for me to give up on the whole thing. You know what? I'll say it right up. I like the vampire baseball scene. I did.
Hate baseball.
Because guess what?
That's good.
It's kind of like Chronicle, right? Remember one of the things the director of Chronicle told me? He said, look, if you had a bunch of teenage kids that suddenly realized they had these superhuman powers, they wouldn't run out and start fighting crime. They'd start messing with people. They'd start doing these weird things. And to me, that whole baseball scene in Twilight where they're out there, if I had the powers of a vampire, guess what I'd be doing? I'd be playing football. I'd be playing baseball. I'd be dunking from, 18 times further than Jordan ever did. That's the stuff I'd be doing. I thought it brought levity to it. I thought it showed because let's face it, if you and your buddies had the powers of vampires, you would be doing stuff like that. And I liked it.
For like 100 years, it'd just be so boring, right?
Yeah.
You have to pick up like a weekly baseball game. Otherwise, I'd just die of boredom.
I mean, I that's one of the things that I personally appreciated about it. So, yeah. I mean, but look, I'm not sitting here trying to defend. Well, actually, maybe I am defending Twilight a little bit, but yeah. I'm not trying to pass myself off as a Twilight fan. Mm-hmm. I'm not. Look, a lot of the big criticisms levied at Twilight are absolutely deserved and justifiable. But I'm thinking when you do that, you also have to give it its due, and I think Twilight deserves some due. And is really ultimately not all that bad. I think just a lot of people get really angry how passionately some people love it, and that turns them off. And so they go to the opposite end of the extreme and paint it as like one of the worst things ever. And when reality it's not.
Yeah, it's silly, and people are really they love their Twilight.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They really do. So listen, guys, we've got about 10 minutes left here. What we're going to do now. Do us a favor, help us out now with the show. We need your help for the next 5 to 10 minutes. We need you to type in topics or questions into the chat board and let us know what we should talk about for the next 5 to 10 minutes. Once again, if you are watching this somewhere where you don't see the chat board, go to facebook.com/FYC podcast. Facebook.com/FYC podcast. And then from there, click on the Ustream Live link in the left-hand side, and that'll open up a new page, and you'll see the chat box below. Just click on the chat tab, jump in, and you can join the conversation, start talking with other people in the chat board, and start giving us stuff to talk about. So Matt's going to be keeping an eye on the chat board there. He's already perusing the chat board, looking for questions or topics that have been brought up. So jump in there, throw in some questions, and with that being said... Matt,
it's either ask questions or you hear me talk about how Groundhog's Day is awesome.
Okay.
That's it. There's Inclining Pizza wants to know what's your favorite of the 4 released.
Of the Twilight films?
I'm assuming, yeah, because of the baseball.
Oh, yeah. I'd say my favorite of the ones released is not this most recent one that came out. Not Breaking Dawn Part 1, but the one prior to that. The one where the werewolves and the Cullen family have to team up and fight the newborns, as they're called. I think so far that might be my favorite one of the bunch. They're all pretty close. Like I said, I hate none of them. I love none of them. They're all fairly close. But if I had to pick one, I'd say, and I can't remember the name of that one, but Is it New Moon or is New Moon the
I
second
can't
one?
help you there.
Okay.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking. Sure, sounds good.
So yoo-hoo! Okay, so
Yeah.
I will
All
say
right, what
the
else?
one Klein Pete is saying is called Eclipse. Okay,
Okay.
Eclipse. So Eclipse, I would say marginally is my favorite one.
hmm Okay, here's the next question: Is what do you think about Khan in Star Trek Two? About having Khan in Star Trek Two? I'm sorry.
I've been saying it forever. I think that is absolutely the way you should go. Is have Khan.
As long as somebody screams Khan,
Yeah.
then we're fine. Yeah. Yeah.
Khan.
As long as that happens, I'm good.
Although, man, it's gonna be tough matching the William Shatner scream. I mean, for Chris Pine to match the William Shatner scream of Khan, that's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
I've said it forever. He is, aside from the Klingons as an entire race,
hmm
Khan is the single greatest character in Star Trek lore. He's awesome. And I mean, watch the original TV series with Ricardo Montalban as Khan, and watch The Wrath of Khan, and he is the guy. It's like if you're doing Batman, at some point you have to have the Joker. At some point, it doesn't mean you have to do him first. If you're gonna do Star Trek rebooting this universe, you got to have Khan. He is the best character that franchise has ever had. You got to do it. I love it. I would have liked to have seen. Well, I had certain ideas about people who I'd like to see Khan, but yeah, this is a. I love it. I love it. That's what I want. I want Khan in Star Trek.
Yeah. This chat makes me laugh. The next question I got was why are there two bad Snow White movies coming out? Why is this happening, John?
Man, for some.
As King of Hollywood, let me know why this is happening.
Okay, I'll say this, and you guys, you'll have to forgive me. I can't remember the titles of both of them, but you've got basically two of these movies. You got the Thor one, where it's why can't I remember Thor's name? Why can't I remember his name?
Hemsworth.
Chris Hemsworth,
Yeah.
who's also in Star Trek, by the way. He was in the first Star Trek movie.
Yeah. He's
Lot of-
the dad, right?
Yeah, he's Captain Kirk's dad. Man, you look at him now, he looks so freaking different. When you look back at the first J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie and you see Hemsworth, it's like, that's Thor? And he looks so different with that beard, man. But you got the one with him and Twilight Girl.
hmm
I think that one's called Snow White and the Huntsman. I believe that's what that one's called.
I think you're right.
Doesn't look great, but I'll say it looks like it has potential. There's potential there. I still don't think it looks very good, but I'll say that it looks like there's potential there. The one, though, with Pretty Woman, with Julia Roberts and Lily Collins, I can't remember the name of that one. What are they calling that one?
I don't know.
Is it
I
called?
haven't even seen that one.
Is it called Mirror Mirror? Is that what that one's called, guys? It is called,
Yep.
AP Rock's saying it is called Mirror Mirror. This looks like it could be one of the worst films in the history of Hollywood.
Wow.
And
All right.
that's from a trailer that is trying to make the film look good. This Mirror Mirror could end up being the worst film ever in the history of Hollywood. It could be worse than Catwoman. It could be worse than Battlefield Earth. It could be worse than The Highlander Part 2. This could end up being the worst film ever. I'm watching this trailer and I'm like, somebody in some studio somewhere who makes more money than I do and I should have their job said, this is great. Let's release it to the public. I'm dumbfounded how bad Mirror Mirror looks. And why they're doing it at the same time, I don't know. It's like this, when Dante's Peak came out at the same time as Volcano. It's like when Armageddon came out at the same time as what was the other asteroids about to destroy the Earth movie with Morgan Freeman as the president.
Yeah.
I can't
know
remember
the movie.
I can't remember why. I don't know why I'm
This is the
forgetting
worst.
the name of that movie. Deep Impact. Thank you, Comedy Family.
Okay.
It's
There you
coming
go.
out roughly in the same era as Deep Impact. I mean, I don't know why the studios do that. They're trying to capitalize and cannibalize on each other's stuff. But Snow White, really? We need
It's about time.
first of all, we need a
Yeah.
Snow White movie, and no, wait a minute, we don't need a Snow White movie. We need two. I don't get that. So anyway, what's next? We got time for a couple more.
Okay, we got one question about Blizzard. They were saying with all the games Blizzard has, Warcraft, Diablo, StarCraft, all that stuff. When do you think somebody's gonna make any features from those,
Sam Raimi's currently
live
working.
action or otherwise?
Sam Raimi is currently Sam Raimi, of course, of the Evil Dead and the old Spider-Man films.
Yeah, Spider-Man.
Is developing a Warcraft movie. He's developing a World of Warcraft movie. So
Oh, really?
So we should see something from that. Probably within the next year. I don't mean something's going to be out, but I mean we should hear something about going into production within the next year. I would guess.
Yeah.
They've got to
That'd be
do it
interesting.
soon.
There's tons of material though, right?
Yeah, there's huge amounts of lore that can go along with that.
Yeah.
Now, all video game movies suck, but I think I've always said that World of Warcraft is the one video game that has some real potential to be decent because there is so much underlying narrative that you could draw from and do something. And the world itself is so huge. I would love to see a StarCraft movie. I think the world that the universe they created for StarCraft, I think that makes itself ripe for some storytelling. I don't think Diablo would make. It's a great game, and our buddy Ryan actually has the beta test for the Diablo.
I saw that.
The new Diablo game.
Yeah.
So everybody's jealous. It's an amazing game, but I don't think there's stuff there for a film for a feature
Yeah.
film. The
Warcraft would be
window,
good, though.
it would, but the window's closing. Sam Raimi's been attached to this now for about a year and a half. They need to get moving on this because World of Warcraft is entering its twilight, I think.
Yeah.
When has a video game ever been around this long and been this popular for this long? It is the most successful video game of all time. But it's entering its twilight. Now with Star Wars Old Republic out, and the hardcore people who've been playing Warcraft have been playing it now for 3 years. It's entering
Warcraft,
its twilight.
like 6 years.
Well, Warcraft in general, yeah. The World of Warcraft, 6 years.
Yeah.
And then
Long
the
time.
first
6 or
Warcraft game,
7
even
years.
older than that.
Right.
It's entering its twilight. They need to jump on something here soon. If they're going to do something else, like maybe like a Skyrim might have potential and everything, but even then I don't think so. World of Warcraft is the best potential for a good video game movie we've maybe ever seen.
Yeah. Probably.
But they've got to get moving on it. Sam Raimi's
Yeah.
attached. They've been developing it, but they've got to get something in motion here. I say if they don't start at least pre-production within a year, I don't think it's going to happen. If it doesn't happen, if they don't start pre-production within a year, it's not going to happen. I think it will, but but it won't happen if they don't start within a year. Anyway, let's take one more.
Okay, we got one. You think Rachel McAdams should have gotten more award consideration
Not this year.
for Midnight in Paris?
No.
Okay.
She had a small, one-dimensional kind of bitchy character that she played. She played it well, but by no means, no. That shouldn't even be in the conversation.
You don't you don't like that one. You don't like the movie. I got to see this movie now.
No,
And come on and
but I'm
disagree
fine. I
with
mean, I can see movies. There are movies that I dislike that I think have some brilliant performances, but her character is just this one-dimensional bitchy little character. I don't think anybody is suggesting she deserves awards consideration for that. In general, she's a great actress, but I don't know if she's ever been given a role that would give her the potential to take it to a level where she could get awards nomination. I think if she was given the right role, she can absolutely be an Oscar contender. But she's never had a role that gives her that ability at this point. So I'm not surprised she hasn't been given an Oscar nomination, but I fully expect before her career is done, she'll be at least, I don't know if she'll win an Academy Award, but she'll at least be nominated a couple times.
All right.
I'm going to touch on this one first, because I've had to address this a lot ever since the Oscar nominations came out. And I've said this a couple of times. People want to keep bringing up Drive. Billy George 8 is asking, what do you think about Drive? Let me get this out of the way. Drive, so many people saying Drive got snubbed because it didn't get nominated for Best Picture.
Right.
No, it didn't.
No.
Drive did
I don't
not
think
get
so either.
snubbed. It didn't. It did not deserve a Best Picture nomination. It just didn't. Sorry, it didn't. I liked it a lot. I loved it. I loved Drive. I thought it was a really cool movie. I really dug it. But let's appreciate that and not think that just because that's the case that it's one of the 8 best films of the year or deserves a Best Picture Academy Award nomination. It didn't.
Yeah, no way. I wanted to like that movie so bad. Like, I went in there and I'm like, I'm supposed to like this. I'm supposed to really enjoy this. And at the end of the movie, I was just like, oh, I'm glad this is over. This, and then I didn't like it at all.
Somebody's asked, what's this about? Okay, some people are repeating what's this about TV shows? Somebody has a favorite
Oh,
TV show.
they want to know what our favorite TV show is.
We'll start with
And
you. What do you think?
it's not Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad is really good, but it gives me heartburn.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm not all that enthralled with Breaking Bad either. Don't get
it's
me wrong,
good.
I like it, but
Yeah.
I'm not all that
But
enthralled with it.
as far as like serious TV, it's probably Mad Men or Breaking Bad, but it's 30 Rock for me.
30 Rock is
That's
so
it.
funny.
Yeah, that's it.
For me, I don't watch a hell of a lot of TV. I will say, um, I will say this. I think Battlestar Galactica still might be the best television ever in the history of television, and I'm talking about the new ones. At least the first 3 seasons was some of the best television ever made. I'm a huge Supernatural fan. I love Supernatural so much. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to be foolish enough to get into one of the best TV shows ever made. No, it's not. But I love it. I love This season has been a little bit iffy. It's been
Yeah.
iffy, but I still enjoy it. And I just think this show has been so great from beginning right till now. I just think it's been such a terrific show. What are some of the other ones that I'm really, really digging right now?
Parks and Rec is really good too, but
My favorite sitcom on
it's
TV right now. Way surpassed
second
The Office
second
for me.
best. Oh yeah, well, what best? I passed The Office, but it's no 30 Rock.
Uh,
Sorry, ladies and
yeah,
gentlemen.
I like it more than 30 Rock still, but I'm with you
Boo.
on my big appreciation for 30 Rock.
I like Ron Swanson, but
Oh yeah, I
I
love
think-
First One.
yeah.
I think Game of Thrones is a little overrated.
I haven't seen it.
I watched the entire first season in one day. On the day they were doing the season finale of Game of Thrones, I went to my buddy Dennis's, who runs ThinkHero.com, and a bunch of us watched the entire first season leading up to the final episode, and then we watched the final episode that night. And I liked it. I appreciated it.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to season 2. But again, I thought it was a little bit overrated. So that's just me. So that's some of my favorite TV.
All right, and then this last question, I'm sure it can't be real, but Bowfinger or Tower Heist, and why, John? I haven't
Bowfinger.
seen either one of them.
Bowfinger. Bowfinger.
Uh-huh.
Bowfinger. I think Bowfinger is one of the. I mean, I put together a list a long time ago of like my top 10 most underrated films. Bowfinger is one of my top 10 most underrated films ever. I think that
Really?
movie is
I gotta
genius.
watch it. I haven't seen it.
I think that movie is genius. It's I think it's brilliantly funny. I liked Tower Heist. I liked it. Actually, I liked it quite a bit. I remember I laughed quite a bit at Tower Heist. But
Yeah.
but that's all it is. It's a good movie. Bowfinger, I think, is a genius movie. There's
Really?
this
I
one
gotta watch
scene that I put in my top 10 funniest movie moments of all time. And, topped by Dark Helmet saying, "Now, Lone Star, you will see that evil will always triumph because good is dumb." That's my number one funniest moment in film ever. But on that list is a scene from Bowfinger where Steve Martin is saying to one of his assistants, "You know what? We're going to shoot this movie. Go out there and get me the best crew that money can buy." And then it does a quick cut to out in the desert, Steve Martin holding the back of a van open with a bunch of illegal Mexican immigrants and him going, "Come on," and all these Mexican immigrants jumping into the back of the van. It's so brilliantly written, so brilliantly timed. It's just one of the great comedic movie moments ever. Eddie Murphy was great in it. It's I think one of the last times we could say Eddie Murphy was really, really great. And Steve Martin just proves why he's such a genius. Listen, guys, we are way over time. We're at 53 minutes. We got to cut this off. Please don't forget, share this video around. The YouTube video version of this will be going up here soon. Share it around. Tell people about the show. Bring more people in. Embed the streaming live show on your Facebook page or any other blog that you might have. Make sure you join us. Email me at campea@gmail.com. And let me know if you like the show so far, what you like about it, maybe what you don't like about it, how we can improve it, if you think we should keep going with it. Also, don't forget that within the post, when I put up the YouTube video of this show up a little bit later, within that post will be links to how you can subscribe to the show on YouTube, subscribe to it on iTunes, and subscribe to the audio-only edition for people like me who like to listen to podcasts at the gym or in the car or something like that. So thank you so much, guys, for joining us, all of you in the chat board. Really appreciate having you here. Once again, thanks to Matt. Matt, thanks a lot. And
you too, buddy.
And to all the rest of you, thank you so much for joining us. And until Monday, I guess that'll do it for us for this week. Until Monday, bye-bye.